Welcome back. It's Lionel, tech lead and partner at Westport. And today I'm talking about why projects fail because it's still fresh in my mind after a discussion I had with a client yesterday. So I'm going to share exactly what I told the client. So you'll be very surprised to see or know that about 75% of tech projects fail. And when I mention fail, people say, no, I can't believe that's high because you're thinking about projects that don't compile or they don't even finish or you fight with the vendor and they've run away. But I, as a tech lead, define a project as a failure when it's not being used after being deployed, it's too complicated, or it's been abandoned or people cannot even find the project. And that's much more common. That is a much more outcome than actually pure failure, especially if you've got a good tech team behind you. Now, to avoid this, right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you about 3 of the main reasons why these projects fail and some benchmarks that you can use and check yourself to make sure that if you're a project manager or you're running a company and you want to do a tech project, that you don't run into these problems. Now, the first major problem is not assessing the need clearly, not assessing a need clearly. So a lot of companies get into the momentum or the trend of digital transformation, except they don't know what exactly they're trying to transform. They're trying to say, okay, we need to go Anti, we need to go in the cloud, but what do we want to do? Now, in today's world with the COVID-19, right, there's certain push factors that are very clear. Like, for example, if I don't have tech, I cannot get my business out. I cannot do anything. But what normally happens, right, is that they're not actually sure which part the tech is supposed to be helping you. And that leads to a major mismatch. So you go into the vendor and say, okay, I now cannot open my shop. I can't deal with clients. I need a CRM. Okay, you're not solving the right problem. And this usually happens when people just react or they've been listening to some Kool-Aid online or something and they just want to grab a solution. So what you can do here is make sure you write down what you want. I would normally appoint one person as the key person, as a decision maker, and everyone just puts in feedback. I've seen the documents, some spec documents that are just, looks like a wish list, you know? So that's one of the major things. And you want to keep it simple, stupid, right? I told you guys about this, meaning that you say, go in there and you just take out all the stuff that you do not need or not solving the problem. So this really needs to Maria Kondo your project. So that's the first major problem, not really sure what the need is. The second one, as I mentioned already, is where too many cooks spoil the broth. So for all of you guys, right, what normally happens in a project is that you have a project manager who goes around and gathers feedback. And a lot of people are going to give you a wish list that is that long. You know, if Santa popped up, now here I have a whole wish list. What I would recommend you do to prevent this from happening is actually watch what people do, not do what people say. So to see where the major problems or the bottlenecks are in the system and fix those things instead of asking them, hey, what problems do you have? What can you suggest? So, I mean, you can take the suggestions, but observing how people's behavior works is a lot more difficult. Now, to give you an example about this, I like to talk about fitness, right? We all want to get fit. We all want to get a little bit more trim, lose a couple of kilos. I mean, everybody always has a wish list like that, right? They get a gym membership and they don't use it. That's like a tech project. What you want to do, right, is say, okay, what is the requirement that I can do consistently? And that's how you observe it. If someone knows how to ride a bicycle, maybe they could do 10 minutes to 20 minutes of bicycle. If they're sitting on the floor on the couch, maybe they can do some yoga. Do not go too far outside because it doesn't make sense. If you suddenly say, hey, I want to go rock climbing and you're afraid of heights, that is not going to work. So that's the second major thing. Make sure you watch what people do, not what they say. And then the third most important thing, right, is learning to agile a project. Agile is a word that a lot of people heard. I actually did a video on that. Not too popular, maybe it's a bit technical, but the point is you never know what you don't know. Okay? So when you start out a project, right, one of the worst things that can happen, right, is unexpected stuff occurs. And I'm taking you guys back to a simple example on the sports again. You go cycling and it's the rainy season and you cannot do that, and you just invested $2,000 to $3,000 on a bicycle, a Brompton bicycle like a lot of people are doing out here, but then they could not commit. Tech is a lot like that. It's easy to do and easy not to do. So when you're observing, especially user-based technology or internal corporate-based or big companies, what happens is that suddenly it just doesn't fit. When you take it to production, when it's real, people stop doing it. They stop using your bicycle, they stop using your software, and it just sits there as a white elephant. So what you want to do is agile the process, right? Test it out. Don't buy a $2,000 Brompton. Buy a $300 Brompton. Not Brompton, $300 Brompton. $300 Dahon or something like that, and then use it. See how often you can do, observe, and then optimize. So this is how you want to roll out a project. So sit down and say, okay, what do I need for my agile process? What do I need to achieve? Number one, the first goal. And really do that first and then measure and then roll out. So how I would deal with a vendor or my tech team on this and say, okay, round one, we are going to achieve this, okay? And then we go out with the bicycle, we test. Is it raining? Do I need this? Do I need that? 2 to 3 months later, once people are complaining, once people are feedbacking, I'm going to take that and update the system. And this is where custom software makes the difference between a built software and a custom software, because custom software, we're going to retest it, remeasure it, and redeploy something else, new features, new anything. Now, I'll take you back again to my example, cycling, because of COVID, a lot of cycling going on. So I was cycling a lot, and I realized it was raining in the afternoons, but it wasn't raining at night. So I started cycling at night, right? But what happened was that I did not have any lights, and it was pretty dangerous to go cycling at night without lights. So I had to agile my process. I put a light in front, but then after that, I needed a light at the back. And then to do that, I need a pouch. And then I needed a new seat. So there was a whole bunch of processes that was happening as I was changing the way of my behavior patterns to achieve the goal of cycling. Not that simple, right? You need to do the same thing when you're doing a tech project. You need to roll out the initial phase, the minimal variable product, then bring it out to the market, test it, test your users, see if they're enjoying the product, see if they are able to use the product, see if it's building into a habit, then take in the feedback, redo another version of that, and custom software does that much better. A lot of people bring up the thing where if some people start complaining, it is a project failure, not in an agile process. In fact, you want more and more complaints so that you can fix this stuff faster. Iteration is the key to success in agile. I see a lot of people, especially big corporate companies, right, where there's a lot of politics involved. Someone rolls out a project manager rolls out something, and bang, the complaints are coming in all over the place. What happens is that people think that's a failure. I would say no, that's a success. Problems are what you want. First of all, that's good, because if you have problems, it means people are using it. Number two, you can get the feedback and quickly fix this. So that is part of the agile process. You really want to be iterating it. Don't worry too much about the issues that are coming up. Keep improving the process. And the fourth one, very important, is to keep the motivation. Very important. I've seen this more in large-scale companies, but they are also in the SMEs. What happens is that there is a big change. It actually happened here in Singapore last year. With COVID, there was a big push. We needed to get online. We needed to get blah, 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 blah. And then the minute things started opening up, the motivation wasn't there anymore. They were making more money in physical. They were just pushing things aside. Now, this is a recipe for failure. You're going to have this up and down thing with motivation. So what you really want to do is make sure that you do, again, back to my sports example, something that is easily, that you can maintain the momentum easily. As I said, don't try rock climbing or something that you have to pay lots and lots of money, high amount of skill level to get into. Do something that's consistent that you can push every day and then build upon it. Big companies, I've seen a lot of this, especially when people are moving, right? So someone comes in, big motivation to push something, they want to go digital, they want a QR code, they want something. And then after that, it drags on a little bit. Maybe they achieve their goal, they get promoted, and the project stalls, floats, and then it gets discarded like white elephant trash. Do not do this. Remember, think marathon, think small little sprints getting towards the end, especially if you're the owner of the company. You don't want to tolerate this kind of what do you call cyclical up and down development. You want to have a consistent plan, keep iterating. And that's why the projects that I see the most amount of success are those projects where people put it as an essential part of their service, they commit to it, and they're slowly iterating. The same way that a marathon runner is slowly iterating and going step by step instead of jerky performances. So those are my 4 reasons and tips of why projects fail for much more of a project management level rather than a tech level or even the software level. I hope that that's very useful and that it changes the way you roll out and deploy your projects. And that's the bottom line because the tech lead said so.